History.
Technically speaking, history is a science which deals with the events and occurrences attached to prophets, kings, conquerors, and eminent personalities and significant events of the ages past. These events give us to know about the way of living, moral values, and social learning in the past. Some people have defined history in a manner that humans living together form society, and that collection of men gives birth to city, and all the states and conditions undergone by them put together take the shape of historical events. While collecting such events by the latter from the former and leaving them for the posterity as a model for learning lesson and benefiting from is called history. Some others say that the Arabic word tarikh, history, has been constructed by reversing the last constituent of the word takhir, and takhir means to relate the past with the future. For instance, it is to tell that so-and-so religion or rule or battle occurred at such and such period. Thus, it is the only source of knowing what happened in a certain period. In short, much hair-splitting has been done in defining history. But the sum and substance of all the definitions is the same what has been described above. If the gist of the gist is meant, one can say, the states and conditions and information which are chronologically arranged make history.
Need of history.
History produces in our heart and mind blessed fervor by acquainting us with the living conditions of our elders and ancestors. Human nature has a particular kind of thirst and desire which activates man to travel through the countries, to stroll in gardens, and roaming the mountains and forests. This demand of human nature keeps children restless to hear stories of cock sparrow and hen sparrow, and to the young to hear tales of parrots and starlings. And this is what urges to carry out the command of Quran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
So ask of those who know if you know not, and turns human mind to go through historical books. And keeping this in view, the Creator of natures has put some taste in heavenly books. What a great nation was children of Israel that they had claimed,
نحن أبناء الله وأحباؤه.
we are the children of Allah and His loved ones. But the more they were getting unaware of the states and conditions of their elders and ancestors, the more they kept falling into the quagmire of disgrace. Consequently, Allah the Almighty has addressed them repeatedly with the words, "O children of Israel, remember," and reminded them of the conditions of their elders.
Benefits of history.
Study of history sends ambition high, draws toward virtues, and keeps away from vices. It develops wisdom and insight, sets far-sightedness to grow, and creates sense of caution and vigilance. It fills the heart with utmost joys by warding off sadness and gloom. Its study produces in man power to stabilize the truth and falsify the untruth, and enhances power of decision. It creates patience and firmness, and keeps heart and mind studded with freshness and growth. In short, knowledge of history is a preacher of 1,000 preachers, and the best source of learning lessons. By studying history, a man finds himself constantly in the company of prophets, kings, conquerors, friends of Allah, wise men, scholars, and men of consummate skill and learning, and benefits from the fountain of their knowledge, wisdom, excellence, and virtues. And he can easily save himself from the mistakes committed by great kings, viziers, military commanders, and philosophers. No other study can fill human hearts with so much joys without putting any mental pressure or causing boredom, as a study of history can do.
Preservation of martial characters through history.
The nation, fully aware of its historical background and events of the past, can essentially and successfully preserve its national character and distinction, and can restrain its people from getting demoralized in any field of activity. It rather leads them to the lost pinnacle of perfection. An individual who is uninformed of the background of his fathers may indulge in embezzlement, but one who knows that so-and-so among his fathers achieved name and fame on such and such occasion keeps his honesty intact, caring least for lakhs of rupees. A person who is uninformed of his father's past may like to escape from the battlefield, but one who is informed of some occasion when one of his fathers took the field in an adverse situation and fought fearlessly, even at the cost of his life, will never flee the battlefield, and the very background of his elder will serve as fodder for him. Now, imagine about the high morals like loyalty, truth, piety, modesty, generosity, etc. The way the elders and ancestors lived can produce the spirit of living in the nations and peace in the world. And perhaps because of this reason, that our neighboring states, who have no glorious history of their own, get their purpose served by changing fictitious tales and false stories into historical accounts, thinking least about their disgraceful position in the court of the historians.
History and family virtues.
Since history contains virtues of the good and evils of the evildoers, an individual belonging to a mean or low family can give only scant attention to true historical accounts. Noble nations preserve the great and unique deeds of their ancestors in their memory, which they follow to keep their nobility intact. Ignoble nations forget even some of the good deeds of their ancestors with the passage of time. To a family or nation whose ancestors have achieved a place of distinction in the sphere of divine worship, bravery, art and learning, power and grandeur, etc., and they have not totally ignored it, they could be activated by producing in them sense of courage, determination, shame, and honor. But this device cannot be attempted in case of the mean nations. This is the reason why most often men from the respectable nations, of the honorable lineage, sons of saintly people and the virtuous, have especial interest in and fondness for the knowledge of history. None among the atheists and well-known coward had ever been a historian or a leader of the historians.
Historian.
The best among the historians is one who is righteous in creed and pure in religious affairs. What he writes should be true as a statement. He is supposed to neither conceal anything nor add anything untrue on his own behalf. Wherever there is chance of stumbling or being victim of misunderstanding, it is permissible to explain and clarify it. It is essential for a historian neither to indulge in sycophancy nor harbor malice against anybody. The style of writing should be simple, intelligible, and spontaneous. Orientation in words and style kills the very purpose of the historiography. This is the reason why histories written in the form of poems are considered below standard with respect to reliability and authenticity. He must be noted for honesty and integrity. He is to be distinguished in speaking truth and acting gracefully. He is to be miles away from nonsense talking, hate, and dejection. The work of compiling, collecting, and editing needs very hard labor and determination from a historian, but still, he is not to be very sure of the veracity of events, for sure access to facts behind an event is not guaranteed. Besides having considerable knowledge of astronomy, geology, civics, and religions of the world, a historian must be intelligent, discerning, and fair-minded, along with being a literary and a man with perfect command on expression, so that he could state his motive easily and effectively. Despite all this, there are some difficulties which appear to be insoluble. For instance, a narrator relates about someone going to a theater. Now, such a narration gives a number of reasons about his visit, and nothing can be said to be essentially true. The person who went to the theater is fond of songs. He is not fond of hearing songs, but is actually a lover of beauty. He is not a lover of beauty, but all of a sudden he has fallen in love with an actress. He is not a lover of anybody, but he was essentially to meet a friend there. He wanted to write an article on theater, and hence he was bound to go there. He had to deliver a lecture against theater, and hence had to observe it closely. He is employed in secret service, and his bounden duty led him there. He himself hated theater, but his friends forced him to go there. He was a godly person and a pious man of high degree, but he went to theater to dissolve the devotion of the people to himself. He had gone there with the sole purpose of picking pockets. In short, one narrative can give birth to hundreds of deductions. Moreover, any one healthy deduction needs support of many other causes. Those supportive causes also have different possibilities. If the historian is not just and he feels himself attracted to a predetermined deduction, he very easily and carelessly overlooks opposing pleas and collects favorable arguments by searching them everywhere. Thus, he seeks to mislead others by getting himself misled.
Readers of history.
As compiling or writing a book of history is an uphill task, to study history and derive full benefits from it is equally difficult. Readers of history should consider the study of the past events as source of taking lesson and warning. They are required to save themselves from the mistakes and evil doings which the people of the past had committed and paid for them, and try to practice virtue by being acquainted with the best consequences of the virtues of the virtuous. To decry or abuse anyone who has already departed from this world is not an act of bravery. However, it is not a matter of shame to express love for the dead and gone, and to invoke blessings of Allah for him. To roam the countries, cities, mountains, forests, showplaces, and bazaars, and to study history books are very similar. The only difference is that the experience a tourist collects through tourism and travels of his whole life, the reader of history can collect more of it by the study of history books for a day or a week. The more a reader of history is victim of uncalled-for fanaticism, the more he will find his study of history barren and unproductive for him.
Sources of history.
The sources of history are generally divided in three types. Solid evidences. It refers to all written works like books, memoranda, official papers, commands, decisions, documents, etc. Repeated narratives. It means things that are talk of the town, for instance, stories, poems, proverbs, etc. Archaeological finds. It contains signs and relics, for instance, ruins of the cities, forts, buildings, plaques of buildings, sculpture, ancient weapons, coins, utensils, etc. But it is, however, not easy to exploit all these three kinds of materials to compile a book of history. They all appear to be meager without intellectual power of high degree, labor, courage, urge, and insight. Besides national character, particular habits, rites and customs, background, and geographical conditions prove helpful to the historian.
Types of history.
From different respects, history may adopt different forms. Quantitatively speaking, it may be divided into two parts, general and particular. General history makes mention of the people of the whole world. Particular kind of history gives knowledge about one particular nation or country or dynastic rule. Qualitatively speaking, it is also of two kinds, narrative and critical. Narrative history is one where the statement of the narrator is being enlisted on the basis of his personal observation, and the acceptable and satisfactory narratives have been available to the historian, or the historian would have directly observed the occurrence of the event. Such histories are useful most of all because they need not translating conjectural and imaginary matters into real one. Such histories rather bring about reforms in conceptual mistakes and rationalistic faults. Critical history is one which is based totally on archaeological finds, reported materials, and rationalistic frauds, and any statement of the contemporary historian or narrator regarding the event is not available, like the recently compiled histories of ancient Egypt, Iraq, and Iran. However, these histories are also not with utility, but one cannot be sure of real knowledge.
Historical ages.
Some of the historians have divided history in three ages: the earlier ages, the Middle Ages, the modern ages. The earlier ages contain historical account from the beginning of the world to the Roman rule. The Middle or Middle Ages comprise the period from the last of Roman rule to the conquest of Constantinople, Istanbul, under Sultan Muhammad Usmani II. From some great events are traced the periods of the occurrence of some other events. For instance, such and such events occurred so many years after the birth of Adam, or so many years before or after the deluge. Similarly, years are counted from the birth of Jesus Christ, or Vikar Majid, or the emigration of Muhammad from Makkah to Al-Madinah, or from the enthroning of a certain king. Currently, Christian or Hijra era is in vogue most of all.
Islamic history.
Among all nations and religions, from the beginning to the end, Islam alone is such a religion, and Muslims alone are a nation which have their history wholly and solely preserved and intact, and no part thereof has ever been doubtful. The Muslims have never, from the days of the Prophet peace be upon him up to the present day, acted with negligence and carelessness in reducing states and events into writing and preserving them for days to come. The Muslims are therefore privileged to take pride in the fact that they can at any time compile the whole history of Islam with the help of contemporary historians and eyewitnesses. Moreover, they can very safely show the similar statements about events with unbroken chain of different authoritative narrators. In short, the Muslims are the only nation which has a complete, exhaustive, and authentic history of its own, and no nation of the world can share this peculiarity and distinct feature of this nation. Historians of Islam have practiced as much caution as to take down the event and its nature, as it were, without their personal opinion whatever, so that the readers are influenced not the least with the views of the historian. Thus, the readers are at liberty to make their own decisions and form their own opinions in their own way, without towing the line of thinking adopted by the historian. The greatness and glory of Islamic history exerts deeper impressions on heart when it is noticed that any time or any part of Islamic history can be safely put to the acid test of reasoning, and it will pass off without any impurity, flaw, or defect.
History of histories.
Seeing the ruins of Babylon and Nineveh, pillars of Ad and Iram in the desert of Najd, pyramids and mummified idols of Egypt, etc., an urge is aroused in man to know about the builders. They have attempted to write about the Babylonian people and have collected immense materials on account of their incomplete critical analysis. However, the lives and works of the founders of pyramids can be penned through the strange letters available. Zoroastrian scriptures, Dasitera Safrang, Bible, and present scriptures, Ramayana of Balmiki, Mahabharat, are such books which may give some right or wrong information. Idioms, phrases, proverbs, stone weapons, iron tools, ornaments of silver, gold, and copper, etc., idols of stone, preserved dead bodies of Egypt, pillars of Ashoka, caves of Ellora, idols of Sarnath and Sanchi, throne of Rustam, wall of China, etc., put together make interesting materials which may shed light not only on the whole inhabited quarter of Earth as brightly as it is required, but however they can bring to light some of the areas here and there, howsoever dim the historical rays happen to be. True or false stories of the Indians, old plaques of the Egyptians, ancient traditions of Chinese, ruins of the Iranians, writings of the Greek, particularly the Book of Herodotus, Israelite traditions, Arabic morals, these are all vital and elementary parts of history.
Beginning of history.
Roman and Greek eras, particularly from the conquests of Alexander, start that part of history which has presented before us the states and conditions of most of the countries of the world, that there is far less chances of the chains being snapped in the middle. And it is from here that history is generally considered to take a start. As the study of histories of Greece, Egypt, and Iran fills its readers with joys, they are equally enraged against the Indians, for even in that historical age, India seems to be engulfed in darkness. This utter carelessness of the people living here has always made historians of the world to shed tears of blood, that they always cast fictitious stories in the mold of truth and never allowed truth to take its course. As against the green country India, there is another desert country, Arabia, which is contrary to India in respect to authenticity, power of memory, preservation of table of genealogy, and narration of events exactly as they occurred, and hence even the historical assets of those religions of the age of ignorance are reckoned as something valuable.
Real beginning of history.
Now the noble Quran is sent down. Arabia overcasts the entire world. All the societies appear to be, according to the Quran, scattered floating particles of dust before Arab society. History, in fact, starts from here.
Apart from magnificent task of arranging and compiling ahadith and asma'ul rijal, thousands of Muslim historians are there who have worked such wonders in this field that one is filled with amazement. There is no branch of society or human living which has been left unnoticed or untouched by the Muslims. Authenticity of narration is the life and running spirit behind all historical activities, and the Muslims have taken this aspect into consideration in such magnitude that none except the Muslims as a nation may be cited as an example. The Muslims have devoted their supreme abilities in compiling histories even of other nations and countries. It is the Muslim nation alone which has taken the art of writing history to the level of a science, and the name of Ibn Khaldun, the originator of the principles of history, will keep receiving laurels till the end of this world. From the time the Muslims have been overcast by clouds of decline and ill luck as a nation and lost much of their promptitude in their endeavors in this field, their pupils, i.e. the European historians, have picked up from there to some extent.